don't know what that is.
Sounds like the theme song. The theme song for today, May 30th, the year 2023. Welcome aboard, everybody. You're listening to the Crushing Iron podcast, episode 689.
You got it, buddy. I'm hearing a little static, but we can roll with that.
You got static coming in?
That's fine.
All right. Well,
just kind of a new layer on the music.
Static from. Let me adjust my.
No, you're fine. It's not you.
You sure?
Yeah, let's roll it out. We're rolling now. Welcome to the podcast, everybody.
Welcome to the podcast. Hope you all had a fantastic Memorial Day weekend. Hope you took a little bit of time off. Your pool was probably closed, which, I mean, let's be honest, most of you weren't going to swim anyway, but hope you enjoyed your weekend. It was, I wouldn't call it a fairly busy weekend, but quite a few athletes racing. Had Victoria 70.3, had some ITU racing going on. All in all, a low-key weekend as we gear up for the busiest part of the year. June is packed. It is another packed month. So is July, August, a little bit calmer, and then September, October, same thing. A whole lot of racing, a whole lot of everything from 5Ks all the way up through full distance races across the globe. You got a lot going on, and it's the summertime. Your kids are out. You love them. You appreciate them. You're glad you have them. But man, it's time to rearrange that schedule because once they're out of school, they're all yours. A quick thank you to the teachers, and I've never been more appreciative than you are the first day of summer when your kids are up your rear end asking you to do something without realizing that you got a job to do. So it's that part of that part of the season and that part of the summer. At least it is for me. I know many of you. It's your first time tuning in today. Welcome. We appreciate you giving us your time. We know you have quite a lot of options in the triathlon podcast universe and just podcast in general. Tons of valuables. We appreciate you tuning in today. We cover it all. We do swim, bike, and run specific podcasts. We do race recaps and also a lot of race previews. But for the most part, Mike and I, as coaches, athletes, best friends, we just sit back, relax, have an open, honest discussion about what we're going through in life, not just as human beings, but also as coaches and athletes ourselves. We also talk frequently about what our own vets are going through. Mike and I work with a wide range of athletes all across the globe, from beginner level triathletes from their very first 5K or sprint triathlon, all the way up through elite level amateurs trying to get back to world championships and everyone in between from all over the globe. And we use the feedback loop we have with them and training peaks, emails, text messages, and the like to drive the discussion of the day. We also utilize our Facebook group. You can search that, Crushing Iron Group. Answer one simple question, we'll let you right in. Awesome people, fantastic community, solid resource in a way overcomplicated sport that has a lot of information out there. It is a solid place to get clear, concise information and knowledge from a very experienced group. So you get a lot of people in there willing to give you a hand in figuring out some of your obstacles or answering some of your questions, like we will today, the host of this podcast. We will do a little bit of Q&A today. We do that about once a month. Take the pulse of the community, answer as many questions as we can. That's it. We don't do sponsors, nor do we do ads, but we do have an agenda, and that's an important one, and that's to keep you happy and healthy in your endurance sports journey.
Yeah, that's nice. Did I hear you say the fittest athletes on the planet were racing this weekend?
Yeah, that's the rumor. I've heard some people say, myself included, that in fact, ITU athletes are the fastest triathletes on the planet, even though you won't know like their names. And I was up early, very early, 4:20. Yeah, 4:20 to be exact, on Saturday morning, watching the women race and watching Gwen Jorgensen's hopes and dreams of coming back and being part of the mixed relay vanish as she was lapped out of the bike on lap 6. But some great performances there. And then the men, again, most of the long course athletes, which is, the louder, more populous group of triathletes, are all about the, quote unquote, Norwegian freight train. And I think Blumenfeld, he was didn't even make the top 10 or barely cracked it. And I think Gustav Eden was 4th from last. I mean, enough said. Yeah, I know they're transitioning back to short course, but it's insane. I think Alex Yee ran like a 28 or 29 10K.
Well,
10K.
Yeah, that's pretty fast.
Unreal. It's really insane. Like how he and Hayden Wild went shoulder to shoulder for the almost the entire 10K until the last, quarter mile when Yee dropped him. And it was just, they're on a different level. So come the Paris Testament's coming up soon, but yeah, it's coming. It is coming quick. But yeah, it was a good race, and but yeah, they're pretty incredible. Before we hop into the Q&A, did you visit Del Boca Vista anytime soon this last week, or like over the weekend, however the week? How's your training going?
Training's going all right. I didn't get down to Del Boca Vista. I'm going to try and get down there today though, because I think they miss me, to be honest.
I miss you too. I mean, I get it.
Yeah, I think it was like 2 weeks ago, all the people working there stopped wearing masks. I was like, wow, good to see you after 3 years. And so now they know, everyone, we recognize each other finally. And but I did walk in the other day, and sometimes like if you walk up towards the desk, you got your key card, and sometimes they punch you in ahead of time. And, because they just know who you are and whatever. And I was walking
You got pre-punch status?
Well, in theory, but I walked up and I was about 5 steps away, and she goes, "Oh, don't worry, Larry, we got you."
Get your last minute Larry shirt on?
No, I didn't. I
called you Larry.
Larry.
Fantastic.
Yeah. I said, no, well, it's Mike, but I said, you didn't see, obviously haven't seen the statue outside the swimming pool.
Speaking of the swimming pool, you have to do your swim. You know that, right? You can't be a good triathlete without having to do your swim.
No, I know. And I did swim this weekend. Finally got up to the lake and got an open water swim in, but you're right. I mean, that's the thing I always think about is swimming.
Yeah, you got to get it. And period. That's just a fact. You got to get in your swim. You got to get in your swim. That's just a fact. We did, again, it's a busy time of the year. We hopped in. We're doing a bit of a Q&A today. I believe our first question is from Amy Taylor. First question in. For full distance Ironman, what are your thoughts on best ways to improve the bike leg? I'm always torn between group riding with faster people versus doing my specific work out on my own. I know there's benefits to riding with faster people where I'm just focused on kind of hanging on. Is that better than doing rides on my own, building mental toughness while focusing on hitting my own intervals? Hope that makes sense. Thank you in advance. Well, I think they're all useful. Right. And I think doing anything all the time the same way is kind of always a bad thing. Like, in my opinion, nothing's really bad. Just too much of anything can be a bad thing. And I think training on your own all the time only isn't really a good thing. I think training with a group all the time always is not a good thing. Right. Because, again, you're either going to be the fastest or the slowest. You're doing someone else's workout. Same goes for runs. Same goes for swims. I do think at least every other week, or maybe two rides a month, get out with the group. Do something, go out and have fun. I think one of the biggest advantages of riding in a group, outside of obviously, even if you're not, the fastest or the slowest, if you fall in that middle category, it's very, very important to just learn how to handle your bike in a group, right? Be mindful. And then what also happens, especially in group riding versus on your own, because you're not really super concerned with making mistakes, is you have to be very, very present the entire time, right? So not only does the ride go by faster because you're having to pay attention the entire time, right? The roads, the curves, other people shifting, you have to be on it, right? Brakes, shifting, everything. And now most people, again, if you're riding inside all the time, you're doing ERG mode, you're on Zwift, you're doing all these things where the technology thinks for you. But on race day, you have to think. You have to prepare. You have to brake quick. You have to shift quick. You have to anticipate what gear you need to be in when you look at the gradient of a hill, right? Same going for downhill. You have to practice these things. Minutes and minutes and minutes are lost. More athletes lose minutes on the bike course from not knowing how to ride their bike and change gears and corner than you'll ever gain from your aero helmet or the kind of tri-suit you wear or the wheels that you rent or that you own to race with. It's a tire. You'll lose minutes. You'll purge minutes. At the same time, not only you gain minutes by being more technical, being able to handle more technical bike courses, being better on your bike, is you're probably going to like it a lot more, right? It's like do you want to burn yourself out and ride hard all the time? No, but take that into account, right? If you know you're going to ride hard, let's say you're mapping out, a 4-week block, and you usually ride hard during the week, or ride a hard one day during the week, and then easy, maybe Thursday, Saturday, when you're by yourself. Well, if you know you're going to ride with the group, right, on Saturday, and it's going to be really, really, really challenging, then don't burn your biscuits, if you ride Tuesdays and Thursdays. Just keep those lower key to make room for the extra intensity, not just extra intensity, but more likely longer intensity, right? As you're outdoors, you're probably going to be pushing really, 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 really hard and doing it outside. So I think there's 100% a place for it. And I think way too many athletes get way too worried about hitting the exact, intensity prescription, both with, the percentage based on your FTP or your heart rate, but also by the exact minutes, right? The tracking. But just go out there and have fun with it. That alone, again, will keep you riding and enjoying riding, which will keep you wanting to ride indoors when it's possible and that's what you have to do, and also keep you engaged with doing it outside. So I think you have to do both, right? Do you have to? No, but I think it's very, very, very important to get out and ride. Now, listen, do you want to be sitting on someone's wheel for 100 miles and drafting and be basically zone 1 heart rate, zone 1 watts, and covering 110 miles and then thinking, you're pretty awesome and you crushed it? No. Right. You see a lot of, we always saw people doing that on the trace when you went out to go out there and ride. They would just be sucking wheels, like doing turns for 100 miles. And then, you're like, well, you got to do it on your own. Right. It's just a lot harder to do things on your own. So again, benefit to both, but I think keeping it fun, keeping it lively, and challenging yourself, because you're more than likely going to push harder out there with the group than you would alone in your basement.
Yeah, I liked everything you said there. I think for me, it kind of depends on the route and the group. And she mentioned that, it's about getting faster in Ironman biking. And I absolutely think riding with better riders is a great way to do that. Do you do that every weekend? I don't know. I mean, sometimes you'll have a easy long ride and maybe that's not the perfect time for it, but unless you do what you said is kind of take it easy that week or whatever, and then know you're going to have to amp it up over the weekend. Because we got lucky back in the day when we'd ride the trace, we had 3 or 4 guys at any given day. One of them or 2 of them could feel it, and we would kind of get in there and just kind of ride on them, or it could be us or whatever. But it really kind of pushed you. And I've talked about it before, but I had this thing, and that it didn't always work out, but I tried to do it where you kind of swim with swimmers and bike with bikers and run with runners. And you just, to me, it's sort of like you just pick things up by being around people that are better, and that's always been the approach. I don't know if you know, but I played college baseball back in the day. And
what? Are you serious? I didn't know you played college ball back in the day.
And I would always, you always want to be around better players, to test yourself. And then I think subconsciously, though, you pick up, little tips and tricks along the way, and you learn things. And it's always better to ride with, or just to do anything with people that are a little bit better than you, because they do it naturally, and just to pick those kind of things up. So, yeah, I definitely, with the handling and all that, makes sense. But for me, it's kind of like, yeah, sometimes you got to stretch it, but other times, you want to go out and just kind of cruise and get the saddle time and that kind of thing. For me, it's like, I think during the week, this has always been kind of my formula. I mean, historically, well, now it's not as much, but typically ride during the week on the trainer or by yourself and kind of get after the intervals and stuff like that. And on the weekends, just go out and get with a group and just ride, ride with somebody in front of you, ride with somebody behind you, like you're saying, and get used to the people around, because that's the race, right? How do you handle that? How do you pace yourself within that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I mean, listen.
Yeah.
You can do both, right? You can go in, you can enjoy yourself, and one of the comments here is like, doing things alone, building mental toughness. Mm-hmm. You can also build tremendous amounts of mental toughness doing things with a group, because you're going to push yourself beyond what you normally do. Right. And I think that's a huge key. And yes, doing long rides alone is important, I think. Right. You need that mental toughness to know you can do it by yourself with no outside help. Right. No external motivation. It's all internal. It's all about you. But at the same time, riding with the group, pushing yourself, harder, going longer, challenging yourselves, feeling accomplished when you're done. What that does is give you more ammunition, more tools in the toolbox when it comes time to gain that mental toughness, because now you have results and you have numbers and you have success to fall back on. Right. So I think there's, again, and a lot of people will push themselves more. We talk about this after every camp we do. that people come to camp expecting to be able to do very, very little or not nearly as much, and they leave having done things they've never accomplished before.
Right.
Mental toughness? No. Did they do more, right, because of other people? Yes. Did they do more because they got in positive encouragement? Yes. Did they push beyond their limits because they were, everyone else there was, providing a positive culture and opportunity and encouragement? Yes. Was that creating more mental toughness? No. But the success from that breeds the better opportunity to have mental toughness down the road. So again, a little bit of both, right? There's great things to be had on both sides of those things. Just be flexible with it and understand, that again, pick and choose, like you said, depends on the group, depends on the day.
Flexible on the fuck around, man.
Flexible on the fuck around. From Roy, this is an excellent question. What's the best way to troll a triathlon page for a race? I'm tired of people asking. I'm tired of asking about the water temp. I should probably just unfollow at this point and walk away. Well, trolling Facebook groups is also something that you and I do frequently.
Yeah.
We might even be doing it today. One of my favorite things on Facebook groups is to just drop in. Listen, I heard from my uncle's buddy that he fishes with every spring, who's on the local government board of trustees for the highway, that they're going to start road construction. They might not be finished, but if they're not finished, there's going to be at least 10 to 15 miles of gravel, pure gravel. And I'm just not sure. I don't know if they're going to cut the bike course. That's what I've heard. I've also heard there's been, there's an algae bloom scheduled to happen 2 days before. And the likelihood is that, the swim's going to get canceled. Those are just things, that I've heard through the rumor mill of people that I know. Those are outstanding things to add in, because all it does is cause total panic. And then the telephone game where people, next thing you know, it's been told from one person to one person to one person. And then before you know it, the race is canceled.
I don't really know offhand, but I highly encourage that activity.
Yeah, I mean, I totally support it. I mean, another great thing is to cut in our group. Yeah, I mean, go find your longest bike ride you've ever done. Okay, and then go find the longest run you've ever done in your entire life, and then create a and you merge two pictures together. I don't even know what that's called anymore, cropping or editing or whatever it's called, filtering, and then tell everybody it was a brick. Say, I went out today and did a 125-mile bike ride and followed it by a 50K run at race pace. Yeah. Feeling pretty good. Yeah, and I did it on just water. Yeah, I did the bike on water, and then on the run, I did 2 almonds every other mile, followed by 2 Tic Tacs on the odd miles, and it worked perfectly. I mean, worked perfectly. I've been studying this new methodology. Really seems to go great, and I really think I'm peaking for race day. And then about 3 hours later, go into Google and search almonds and Tic Tacs, and it'll fly up the chain, because you've had all these people oh my God, I'm not on the almond Tic Tac fueling plan. They're I honestly wish that pro athletes would do this. I think I even talked about it last year when they were interviewing, all the big, Gustav Eden, Blumenfeld, Sam Laidlow, all these questions about their training, methodologies and what they're doing and how they're being successful. I really wish they would just straight up troll everyone and say, well, basically I hammer myself to death Monday through Friday. I mean, I just drill it. Zone 4, zone 5, beat yesterday, just destroy it. Saturday and Sunday, I don't do anything. Nothing. I don't go long. I don't do endurance stuff. I just go hard. Or do something I take 4 days off a week. And then the 3 days that I work out, I do 1 swim, 1 bike, and 1 run. But they are quality. I'm all about quality.
Yeah.
A lot of people talk about quantity, but I'm all about quality. I do a lot of HIIT sessions, and they work. And you would see people do that because they just, do what the pros do. So I think, again, I would encourage pros to do the exact same thing and just troll people with, instead of being it's consistency, it's volume, and a little bit of periodization. This is what I do. Just be, odd weeks, I only cycle with my left leg and then give my right leg a break. And then the other week, I do only cycling on my right leg. And then once they both build up strength, I do both legs. But that's really more, served for race day. People should troll more.
No, that'd be fun. I mean,
people should troll more, period.
Yeah, I've got mixed emotions about that because life is a troll, man. It's like
that's also true. Fake news is trolling.
Oh my goodness, it goes on and on and on. Yeah, I don't know. Just kind of makes you want to sit around a fire pit sometimes.
And if you can't make it in the fire pit,
right?
At least in a sauna session.
Well, next question, I love that, man.
Yeah, Roy, and please, Roy, if you troll your Facebook group, please, whatever Facebook group it is, your which is probably all of them, please come back and show us how you trolled. From Toby Watson. I know the answer is it depends. However, how do you deal with injuries during the season where you aren't able to fully train one or two disciplines for 1 or 2 weeks when your A race is 20 weeks away and your B race is 7 weeks away? Well, on the good news, Toby, is that at least you're not counting, right? You don't have any idea when your A race and B race is. The other thing is if your A race is 20 weeks away, I'm not even focusing on it right now. 20 weeks away is 5 months. That's light years in life, right? 5 months away from now is forever. And, again, what happens is, yes, does it depend? Well, sure, because it depends on what's your injury, right? Is it a running injury? And is it load based? Then you can swim and ride. Easy enough, right? A lot of people, and most people, that's it. Like most people have their injuries from running. Most people, the only time an athlete ever can't ride is if it's like a saddle sore, or they've had a poor bike fit, or they haven't gotten, a good bike fit, or they've tweaked their bike fit to where they've really messed up their saddle height, their hip angle, and their knees are giving them problems. They need to get their cleats adjusted or go get a bike fit. So that's the only time an athlete really can't ride, right? Most of the times athletes can always swim too, unless there's a shoulder, upper body, collarbone, stuff like that, obviously. But most people can always almost swim and ride all the time. So you just swim and ride more. If you can't run and your body allows it, do a lot of big gear work on the bike. That, to me, that's always worked well with athletes to kind of keep that some of the heavier, more dense load when it comes to cycling for athletes. But yeah, I mean, you do what you can. And if it's a week or two, I mean, honestly, you're probably going to come out better than you think. You might actually come out in better shape, because if you're like a lot of athletes, you're overtraining anyway and doing too much, then maybe you'll give your body time a little more time to just relax and unload and be sharp when you come back. Like, I mean, 1 week is nothing. It's like someone going on vacation. It's like, hey, how do I bounce back from going on vacation for a week? Well, one, you probably need a vacation because if you come back from vacation, it's stressful. But two, you're probably in better shape than you were before. You need time to unload, right? And so, again, 7 weeks away. If it's your B race, it also very, very depends on the distance, right? We're talking like B race for a full, B race for a sprint, right? A race is a sprint, B race is a full. Depends on the distance, but there's always something you can do in a week or two. I would not sweat it. I mean, that's just something that athletes way overdo. And when it comes to, the strategizing about how to place a race or when to put, is like 1 to 2 weeks is nothing in the scheme of things. Just if you've been consistent. Now, if you've always kind of wavered on, being inconsistent, well, then, you're still right on track, because you're going to be able to be more inconsistent with your injury, unfortunately. But do something, right? Swim more, bike more. If you can only bike 5 days a week. If you can only swim 4 days a week. Great time for a swim block. Just make it focused on what you can do instead of just, being obsessed about what it is you can't do.
Yeah. Well, I work with Toby, and it is a running injury. And I'm glad you said all that, because that's exactly what we've been talking about. And it's just, it's that the whole week or two, that kind of thing. And especially in this situation, he is training for a half and then a full. So those are the two elements here. But yeah, I mean, let's just, get after that bike a little more and get after this pool a little bit more and give your leg a rest, and hopefully it works out.
I mean, yeah, the fact is that you're probably not swimming enough anyway. I mean, most athletes don't swim enough, period.
True.
They don't swim enough, period. Swim more. 4 days a week. You got outdoor pools open now. You got more accessibility. You got long course pools that are now open, lakes that are open. Go swim more, period. Stop being so lazy about it. Yeah. Next question. Toby, good question, though. Jeff, this is a solid question. What is your biggest fear of the swim, bike, and run? things out of our control that we can mentally prepare for ahead of time. What is your biggest fears? I'm like the opposite. I have the least amount of fear of anything when I'm in the water. So like, when it comes to like being afraid or having fears or apprehensions or worries or anxiety about race day, I never have anything in the swim ever. Doesn't matter if the lake is calm, doesn't matter if the ocean is rolling and rough. I have no fear. I don't worry about anything. I don't worry about people kicking me in the gut. I'm at home in the water. I've always been that way. So I don't. Bike wise is just someone. I have the same anxiety on the bike as I do when I hop on the interstate. I'm not worried about me. I'm worried about you. I'm worried about me coming up behind somebody and saying on your left, and they swerve left, right? Or I'm worried about a volunteer, handing out a bottle and stepping too far out in the road, and I'm holding on the bottle and they do too, and then I go down, right? So that's or I have a flat that I can't fix quick enough. Those are like the thing. And again, those aren't fears. Those are just like I think accidents or mistakes that happen that you're just wary of. Do I obsess about them? No, I don't. If I get off the bike and I've always kind of feel fine, I don't have any. I just don't. Like, to me, like once you make it to the run, it's just like you just go for broke and you do your best and it's going to be painful, but you're going to finish. I mean, most of the time, if you make it off the bike, 99% of the time, I think you're going to finish. Unless, you have like a way. I've been very, very fortunate. I don't have like GI distress, when I make it to the run. I've had it before on the bike and the swim, but usually if I make it that far, it's like, fuck it, I'm good for gold. I'm good to go. So yeah, I don't really have that many on race day, but I think we have the opposite fears. Like I know most of yours are probably fall in the swim, and you probably have very few on the bike.
Yeah, that's pretty accurate. I'm not afraid. I mean, this is the thing is after a while, it's not, like you said, it's not a fear, but I do have I'm very conscious of the idea that I grew into swimming and in the sport having some anxiety attacks. So I've been really aggressive with my pre-race warm-up. And then I think I've kind of, I don't want to say figured it out, but like had good luck with my thing is like, especially in Ironman swimming or even half, but specifically in Ironman, I use the first 400 or 500 yards as my warm-up. I mean, mentally, because I know I'm probably going plenty fast, but if I try to really go as slow as possible, then I'm probably more on pace. So it's really, for me, is about the first 300-400 yards of that swim. And I just want to make sure that I'm just getting a good acclimation to the water. I'm letting it kind of get in me. I'm getting the temperature all lined up. I'm not pushing too hard. And I'm just using it as a warm, especially if you can't warm up, which is most swims now. And I just, so that's always in my mind. On the bike, again, it's like I can't think of anything that I'm afraid of. It's more about, have I trained enough, and do I have enough legs in me? And then, and even like last year when it was pouring rain, I don't have that. I think it's just all the mountain biking. Was that one of those? I don't think they said that, but I used to mountain bike a lot too. So, but seriously, it's like, I think it's just like I have a natural, I guess, training to always be looking ahead, way ahead. And I'm trying to, but like the same thing, and you never know what's going to happen out there. So you always have to be on your toes. And I think I just ride like that generally. And the run, the fears I have are my hamstrings are going to start going crazy. That's usually what happens. So I have to, but you're right. I can, that's something I can prepare for. I just haven't quite solved that problem yet. And it's probably a myriad of things, but I'm working on it. I think it really, a better question, not better question. It's a good question, but like for us, what about when we're watching tracking athletes?
Yeah, man.
Because there's
that's a tough one. I mean, I think you're the same way. Like I don't ever worry about the athletes that I work with making it out of the swim, just because I know we prepare more than I would think most any or most all other programs do. So I don't ever worry about an athlete DNFing or making it something. I just don't. Now, getting off the bike, that's where my worry is. Like especially if I'm there on, tracking athletes, or I'm there for like a team race, once everyone's off the bike, I honestly, and everything else is gravy. Because I'm just glad everyone made it off the bike. No one had a mechanical. No one had a double flat. No one got in a bike wreck. No one got this. Like, I can really, as a coach, once the bike is over, all of my worries about the human side of the person is gone. I'm like, they're good. I got my eyes on them. They're off the bike. They're safe. They're not going to get sideswiped by a car. They're not going to have a flat. They're not going to get, taken out by a volunteer. It's good. Now it's all performance based. So I kind of transition from swim bike. It's more about just making sure they're off the bike. Nothing happens. That's where most things can go wrong and all over the place. But once they're off that, I still care about them as a person, but then you can kind of really focus on just, what are the splits looking like? How are they looking? How are they feeling? Where's their head at? And then you're kind of checking on that. So it's like, you joke, it's very, very stressful as a spectator. It's way more, the day is a lot easier on the athlete than it is the people spectating or a coach watching or, tracking or waiting, or because even then, the splits on Ironman or Iron Tracker, they're not even right half the time. The split's way too fast or the split's way too slow. And the most likely answer is that they're not, neither one of them are right. Right. It was a long split and it was a short split. It made somebody look slower than they were, or it made someone look faster than they were, because I'm I don't know, I'm usually standing out there depending on what time of year it is. I'm in a hoodie and shorts, relaxing, watching the race, in my favorite kind of outfit. But in the inside, I am just stressing the fuck out. I mean, I am just one big bottle of anxiety until they're off the bus. Or excuse me, off the bus. They're off the bike. I was thinking about bus stop because I was thinking about Ironman Wisconsin. I got that that picture of me eating a hamburger and French fries in this bus stop, and as it was raining, I was like, this is the glamour life of a coach. But at that point, I was like, I can eat. I'm good. I can hold this down. Everyone's off the bike. Everyone's, especially when you go and watch races Louisville back in the day, or Wisconsin, right? That we just had this last year. It's you just care about people getting off the bike because it was just it was a fucking shit show, But yeah, so there's a lot of worries, a lot of angst as coaches, but yeah, way more than that of an athlete. It's kind of as a parent, you just worry about your kids more than you worry about yourself. And that's kind of how I feel on race day.
No, I get it. I have a theory about that, actually. It's
I'm sure you do.
I think we fear the same things we fear about ourselves, because it seems like I'm a little bit more concerned about the swim, and then when they get on the bike, I'm usually all right, they should be able to go. But then when I guess my biggest, I don't know if it's a fear or not, but when I'm tracking the run, my fear is to see an 18-minute split pop up when somebody's doing good.
Yeah,
because then it's I'm shit, it's over.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah, listen, everyone has, nerves and stuff, but to that end, there's no such thing as a great bike followed by a bad run. So if you see an 18-minute split, more than likely it's because they overbiked.
That's a good point.
Next question, Hayden Covington. I'm doing my first 70.3 this year, and I don't have a bike of my own yet. I've been borrowing one. What should I look for when getting a bike? Right now, I'm leaning towards either a new or pre-owned road bike that I can outfit a little for try. Good question. I would find a bike of your own ASAP. Just because there are so many different types and percentage of work you put on different muscle groups on a different bike than you would your own. The bike you're on probably is not even closely fit right to where you are. So you really need to make sure it's not too hamstring dominant, too quad dominant, that your hip angle's fine, and then just getting used to it. The biggest thing you can do is get your fit measurements as a person first. Always recommend that. Don't go shopping for the coolest looking bike. Don't go looking for the one that you think is the cheapest, because what's not cheap? Buying two bikes, right? Because the first one you bought didn't work out. Buy a bike that works, right? Buy a bike that is fit to you, not you fit the bike. That's why going into a bike shop and trying to buy a bike is usually a bad way, because I promise you, they will have a bike that fits you because they're trying to sell a bike, whether it's a 52 or a 58. They will outfit you on whatever they have available because the profit margins on bikes are so small and it's a lot of cash flow sitting on the floor. So whether you're fitting a 52 or 50, like, yeah, we can probably squeeze you in on here. We might have to duct tape 3 different air bar extensions together, but I'm thinking you're probably gonna be pretty set, because I know you like the color. So find your stack and your reach coordinates first. That'll help you figure out what kind of brand will fit you best, because a lot of bikes measure differently, and some are generally have a higher stack or lower stack, a more aggressive or less aggressive, and some will have a longer reach or shorter reach. Which if you have a long torso or short torso, can be important in what you're going for. But I think going with a road bike first is great. I think starting out with a road bike is the best option because, one, it's a bike you can always keep, right? If you upgrade to a tri bike, keep your road bike, because what happens is, and I see this all the time with athletes, is that they will buy a tri bike first and then they aren't very good at handling it, so they don't ride it a ton. They just ride inside. So they are, in fact, making themselves worse at riding the bike they already can't ride. So they ride less. Ride a bike that makes you ride more. And ride a bike that makes you want to ride more outside. That's how you get better, right? Don't buy something that's going to make you want to avoid. And that's just a fact, period. Find a way to love what you do and buy things that will help you do more of it more frequently. Because, just going back to the very first question about riding in a group, always insert things that will help keep you doing what you're doing long term. Right? Don't ride with groups. You only train alone. Well, eventually you're going to burn out and feel lonely and isolated and not want to ride or want to ride more, period. So take a couple rides a month and enjoy it and help yourself, right, to be better in the long term. And that's just a great way to focus on things. But again, bike, find your stack, find your reach, and then reach out to, different kind of different stores, or maybe even reach out to a lot of bike fitters are really, really great at, you can kind of go in and they have what they call like a fit bike, where they can move everything in and around it to find your best position. And then they'll have a catalog of bikes and the specs for each bike. And then they'll basically just say, all right, hey, listen, Mike, this is your best position. The bikes that will allow this position with the least amount of adjustments are, the Quintana Roo this, the Cervelo that, or the Felt this. And you're like, boom, now I just pick. Now I can maybe pick a color, what's in stock or what's not in stock. Because, again, a lot of times, even if you can buy a different bike, but if there's a lot of different or cheaper bike, but if you have to upgrade everything to make it work, shorter crank, longer extensions, different saddle, you're going to drop like $800, $900 if that's even in stock. And if you could even get it, right? So always, again, start at the base, right? Which is just getting yourself and your coordinates together, seeing how flexible you are, and then find the best bike for you. But I would do that ASAP, especially if you're doing a 70.3, not just for, the bike portion, but again, like I said in the previous question, there's no such thing as a good bike followed by a bad run. And a lot of that goes to fit, not just pacing, but it goes to fit. A lot of athletes are just way too aggressively fit, and they get off and wonder why they can't run. So, looking at that, but again, don't go, cosmetic shopping and look for what looks the best. Do that after you find out the fit coordinates that are best for you.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, man.
Yeah, man.
No, back to bit quickly. When I start, and like I said, man, I biked a lot when I was younger, and then I started on a road bike that my buddy let me borrow. Thank you, Jim. And I rode that thing a lot, and I loved it. And then I bought a tri bike, and I got lucky. I bought it off of Craigslist, and it worked. But man, when I started riding that thing, and I had like a huge biking history, and I hated that for the longest time. It took me a long time to get kind of used to wanting to ride that. I would always lean towards not picking that bike when we go out, and then finally. Right. It does. It's sort of one of those things. I got sort of lucky. I guess it kind of fit me. I think I actually did get a fit on that thing, but it still felt, I don't know. It's just different. It's just so stiff and just the whole thing. So yeah, I agree with you on that. Start with a road bike, something that feels good and that you want to ride, because that's what you need.
Yeah. You ride more, you become a better cyclist. It's that. I mean, it really is. It's that simple. It's just a fact. Period. Next question. Shannon Nedrick. How does a semi-strong swimmer break 30 minutes in a fair 70.3 swim? How many times a week to swim? Pool swim workouts are fast and solid, but how do I get that to translate into open water swimming race under 30 minutes? This is an excellent question, and you see it all the time with athletes. Is that they are great in the pool, but they struggle mightily in open water. And you can swim, and again, I say this all the time, is that, a lot of athletes, their swim is their pace they see, right, when they end up is way overinflated from what they can actually swim in open water. I'm faster in open water than I am in the pool. I just am. And that's how I swim. It's just my stroke, I guess, not open water. My stroke is best suited in open water. I am long and I am strong. I use a lot of force. I'm not the prettiest swimmer, which again you can get by and shave time with, in the pool. I do flip turns. I mean, I swam year-round growing up. I'm still accomplished, pretty solid swimmer. When I do flip turns in the pool, when I'm doing 25s, 50s, 100s, like I don't, blast off the wall, because it's cheating. It's cheating time. It gives you an inflated, pushing off the wall really hard, whether it's an open turn or a regular flip turn, pushing off the wall, stopping your Garmin as you glide into the wall and make sure you click it right before you touch. Like, it's still time. You're cheating yourself. It's just like hopping in a group and, being the fourth person on the wheel and saying you average 22 miles an hour today. Well, if you remove the three people in front of you, you probably average 19, maybe. So there's a lot of things like in reality, but the best thing you can do, one, make sure you swim straight. Make sure you swim straight, because that's a huge problem with athletes, is that especially when you find, like when I was at the race 2 weekends ago, the first, the Olympic guys were going off and the fourth person hopped in, swear to God, they took an immediate left, like the total opposite direction of the buoy. And as one of the first people in the water, because it was self-seated, they were quite fast. So as a faster swimmer, your margin of error is so. You okay over there?
Yeah, sorry. I was just laughing.
A little choked up. Seriously.
Swimming gets me choked up, man.
Think about all your time. Yeah.
It's just all your time playing
college baseball. It is. It's just a fact. But no, this is what I always tell people this at our swim camps and triathlon camps. Like, it doesn't matter how fast we make you, if it's just going to make you go faster and further in the wrong direction. Because then you have to cover more yardage. So if the swim is 1,500 and you're swimming 1,650, well, that's a huge problem, right? It's also, how you corner buoys. And a lot of people don't have any idea how to sight. They don't know how to follow a straight line. They don't know how to draft, or they're very, hydrodynamic in a pool, and they do long and, quote unquote, it's not long and strong. It's just long and lean is what I would call it. But in open water is about being strong and quick and being able to even have a fast turnover, right? Because your pool swim time means nothing when it comes to open water, because there's so many variables, so many more people, so many things going on. You need to know how to sight, you know how to swim straight, you know how to swim continuously. I mean, hell, think about this, right? Think about the difference people feel in fatigue going from just a simple 25-yard pool to long course 50 meters.
Different game.
Total different. You're 10 seconds slower per 100. Not just because of the length, but people fatigue earlier. I really do think people underestimate. It's one of the most underestimated things in triathlon is how people think about how much little you swim when you do a flip turn, even a closed turn or an open turn, how much of a 100 you don't swim. You might swim 90 yards out of 100. So now you're going 100 meters in one turn, you're swimming more with less rest. And then add that to 1.2 miles, right? Or 2.4, how much continuous swimming you're doing. Right. And again, I just think that's one of the more undervalued and underappreciated things is how the difference is between pool swimming in a 25-yard pool, then you move up to 50 meters, then you go to open water. The best thing you can do is, again, going back to, I think, the first question of the Q&A, is if you can swim 3 times a week, 2 pool swims, right? Intervals, technique work, and then the third one, get in open water and swim straight. Apply it, right? Apply that work. Make sure you can swim steady. Make sure you can swim for a long period of time. Make sure you're swimming straight. Again, everybody thinks technique, and they spend all this nauseating amounts of times doing their snorkel drill. And I'm going to kick on my side for a little bit, and all the stuff I'm going to see at the pool when they're teaching 5-year-olds how to swim today at the pool in our neighborhood. And they don't know how to apply it to the real life. And then when it comes up in water, they have no idea what to do. Like, know how to apply it. So go apply it. Find time to get in open water, or do something, where you can swim, find long course and swim, 20 minutes straight and see how fatigued you are. Because again, if you're fatiguing that much, right, coming out of the swim because you thought you were this kind of shape, then you're probably being fatigued in the bike. So swim 3-4 days a week. 4 is always better than 3. Speed, muscular endurance, technique if you need it. And then a big thing is just trying to find ways to apply that to open water. It's a hard thing to do, and a lot of athletes struggle with that. They see their pool times and wonder why, they're not the same as the open water times. And it's just because of lack of application and being able to figure things out and where the gap is, right? And that's just a fact. Period.
Yeah, it is, man. Well, I'm a good I'm a average-ish swimmer. And for me, it's about, I don't really pay a lot of attention to how fast my hundreds are. I'm more interested in being strong, and especially doing Ironman like last year. It really, got to the point where doing 5,000-6,000 was about where I got to, and I felt really good about it. And I mean, you nailed it, dude. Like, you're talking about Ironman swim. What is it, like 4,400 yards or something like that?
4,400, yeah.
And think about it, how easy it would be, because like I always, you want to get, free water and everything like that. But I always tell people just swim the buoy line as best you can, because 50 yards between a buoy, if you're adding 3-4 yards because you're out away from them and you're not really sure if you're going straight and all that shit, that stuff adds up. Next thing you know, you're swimming 200-400 yards extra. That's almost like 10 minutes for a lot of people right there. So, and also, I think last year I swam whatever it was, like 2-minute 100-meter pace for 4,200 meters or whatever it was, which I was cool with, I mean, that's like a 150, 100, for 4,000 yards. I felt pretty good about that, but I did, there's probably like 5 times I actually kind of stopped and got my bearings and shit like that. That stuff adds up, man. And I'm not a flip turner, and I just kind of don't really use the wall too hard. And I just work on being strong and getting back up to, pace, and then, starting again or whatever. I think that all adds up too. But really the swimming straight, if you're losing, a lot of people lose 400 yards on an Ironman swim. I feel like, if it's not a straight swim, and stay on the buoys, because, that's going to be the shortest route, period. It's a fact. Unless you got some, some sneaky something up here. Unless it's like Louisville, and we used to like kind of navigate with the barges outside of the lines and all that other shit.
Yeah, you got to be sneaky with stuff like that.
But even that's risky though, man, because if you're not good at knowing where you're going, like you're saying, you could just swim 20, 30 yards out of the way real quick.
100%. 100%. Shane Livingston, recalibrating post-injury, ? How to focus on what's important while returning back to one's new normal. For a little bit of context, I tore my lower hip adductor in late December while on a date with my wife bowling. Fast forward to last week, 3 runs, 2 swim and bike, all smaller focused efforts, and fitness and I are not in the same vicinity or same city. Thanks. Maybe a duplicate question. I see. Listen. One of the best things coming back post anything, right? Post injury, post layoff of training, post lack of motivation. First things first is I have zero expectations. The one thing you should commit to and actually embrace is being an exerciser for 2 to 3 weeks or a month. You're not training, you're exercising. Don't get into don't get into training mode, because with training mode comes measurement, right? What did I used to do? Where did I think I would be? Where would I like to be? And all it does is rob, right, the joy you're getting from just being back in the saddle and being able to do stuff, right? I mean, people do it all the time. All the time. They I'm just coming back in. I just really wish. I'm like, who gives a fuck where you wish you were? That has no bearing on where you are right now. And they know it's not objective, and they know it's irrelevant, and they know, but like, yeah, I just really wish. Look, who cares? It doesn't matter. None of it matters. What matters is where you are right now. Right. And that's again, like, that's why we always kind of are maybe firm and a little, I don't know, well, it ain't soft, that's for sure. A little hard on saying, listen, like, stop talking about that this hurts or this aches. And if you're not injured, then it just is what it is. Move on, figure it out. Like, same thing goes with coming back from, being an injury, being in a layoff. Where you were is irrelevant. It's irrelevant. Just so I'm going to get an athlete questionnaire. What are your strengths? Well, back in high school, I was an 800-meter runner, and I was the state runner-up. Looks at date of birth. 7/1/1945. When was the last time you ran? 4 years ago. Okay, irrelevant. No one gives a shit. Neither does your body. It only cares about where it is right now. So don't get into training mode, right? So you can start doing the same workouts you were doing, and then think back to what got you where you ended up. If you got hurt, why'd you get hurt? If you had to take time off because you were burnt out, what made that happen? And then instead of trying to train, maybe focus on fixing the root of the problem, right? Athletes do this all the time. They disregard what got them to where they got to and just want to go about their business, right? Because as human beings, we are very, very capable of being in 100% total denial all the time. We don't need to address it. Just pretend like it never happened, right? The old Southern Church of Christ Baptist way. That didn't happen. Let's just pretend like it didn't happen. Let's just move on, and we won't talk about it. If you like you tore something, bowling, maybe look at, some balancing issues. Maybe look at strengthening things. Focus on things that are not triathlon related, because that's all you're going to do is compare things. Focus on what really matters, right? Which is getting your foundation strong through exercising and just moving, right? Because that'll give you the fitness that'll allow you to do things that you can eventually measure, right? I think we've talked about this on a few podcasts before, is like, when I'm getting back into a groove or I'm trying to get back in shape, I just spend like the first 2 to 3 weeks with no structure. And I just tell myself, all right, this week, I'm just going to get in as much aerobic volume as I can. Can meaning that I want to, that I'm willing to do, and then I can't do. Not that I've told myself to do. Because that is a great way to measure a few things. 1, how much can you handle? 2, how much do you want to handle? And 3, how much are you really capable of handling and want to handle and can do? And then that gives you the framework of creating a schedule from that point on. So then you can start to train. But start out, you're not training, you're exercising. And that's okay. If that's where you are and that's where you need to be, totally fine. But you're not training for something, right? You're trying to get back into shape so you can train. And that's a crucial piece of it. A lot of people are trying to jump that and get right back into things. And then you end up right back where you started. And then wonder why you keep getting hurt or not hurt or burnt out. It's like, again, that big yo-yo. I've got quite a few athletes who 1 week it's I want to quit. The next week they want to qualify for the world championship and go pro. I'm like, these are both problems. Stay even. Like, just, I'm not trying to poo-poo your dreams or your early retirement, but, your giant swings and emotions are not triathlon related. They're just not. Giant swings and emotions are not triathlon related. They are just, symptoms of whatever else is going on with your life, where you're either really down or you have an up day. So fix that. Again, going back to just like, life in general. Fix the root of the problem, right?
Yeah.
I wake up and I just keep feeling like shit, and I can't do this. And I'm like, oh, looks back. Every single night before, you ate like trash and stayed up till 2:00 in the morning. Stop doing it. Like, eventually we just lose sympathy. Like, you keep doing the same shit over again, you keep getting the same result, then at some point you're just going to get what you get.
Yeah.
So coming back from things, just embrace exercising and realize that's okay and very encouraged.
Yeah. And that's something that as I get older, I notice a lot as I have these little weird things happen, that, hurt my back, putting socks on, whatever it is. And you're right, man. It's like, you get pissed off about that and you're like, damn it, but it's a sign, right? So you have to work on what's going on your body. It's we get into triathlon mode and we forget about, overall mobility and strength and things like that. And we just neglect it. And so, I hurt my shoulder a couple of years ago and it's just been, it's okay. But throughout that research, I learned that there's an interesting thing about muscles and, like my shoulder, I played college baseball, as you know, and but for years, the last couple of years, I really haven't been able to throw a ball. And through my research, I learned that the muscle groups, all muscles have like a counter muscle. It's called a deceleration chain or something like that. So, like, in other words, if I'm going to go throw a baseball, there's a part of my shoulder that's protecting me that won't let me throw it hard because the deceleration muscle group is not strong enough to handle the follow through or whatever. So I think I just found that really interesting because a lot of times I think we build such strong muscles on one side and then it makes the other parts weak or whatever. We're not actually, working the whole chain. And so I do think a lot of times it does come back to, exercise and like you said, or like training to heal or, just giving it time and like building well-rounded muscle groups and things like that. So, that can be a million things for, different things. And, maybe that means you got to start bowling left-handed, Shane.
Seriously.
You might want to try bowling the other way for a while and say your left side's like, hey, we're too weak over here, or vice versa, or whatever.
Yeah. But we got just a couple more minutes left. Let's see if we can breeze through these last ones. Alex Stinger, how do I do stupid things well? Any tips for training for back-to-back Saturday, Sunday races? Right now, planning for stacked late evening, early morning workouts to practice training while fatigued. That's a pretty good way to go about it. Another big thing, we had an athlete that won his age group at USAT Multisport Nationals, and he did like 3 or 4 races that weekend. And the biggest thing that I did was you really have to, if you're doing an Olympic, like train on a 70.3 load in the weekends. Because what you want to do is not just create speed, but what you really want to focus on is creating fatigue resistance, because you're going to get tired and you're going to get more tired and you're going to be, but if you have that resistance fatigue, then a short race isn't going to take that much out of you. So don't train the distance, train a little bit more, right? Not harder, but just more. And again, be smart about it, because, doing too much, but again, like if you do, what's better, right? Is to do a PM workout that's an hour and the next morning do another hour, right? Yes, you're back to back, but you got a, you got a whole night's sleep in between. And then are they intense? They not intense? Or, instead of worrying about, back to back PM and AM, do, an over distance, right? If you're an Olympic distance, do like a 3-hour endurance ride. And then the next day do a little bit longer, but make it easy, right? So you're being smart about your training and getting in good, beneficial training. You're not worried about intensity, but you're doing a little bit more, just easier. So you'll still probably meeting, if not exceeding the stress requirements for the race, but it's easier on your body when it comes race day. That worked out very, very, very well for us, was to go that. But it's a tricky thing. And again, not knowing the distance that you're having, but I can't imagine they're over like an Olympic. They're probably not, 70.3 in full back to back. But yeah, next time just be smarter with signing up.
Yeah. Yeah. And I just had a guy, worked with a guy who just did triple T. He had a sprint on Friday, 2 Olympics Saturday and a half, and he got third. And he did really well. We talked a lot about that too. And one thing he did was, and I think it lines up with exactly what you're saying, is we did a lot of he's a big elliptical guy. And so we did a lot of running, obviously, but also he added a lot of, elliptical work in between and stuff. And sometimes when he wasn't, he's a little bit beat up from running or whatever, he just got on there and just kind of churned some extra miles out on the elliptical, which I think paid off really well for him. And we also talked about recovering hard between races and pacing on certain ones. I mean, it's just like you can't go all out all day, every day. So we talked a lot about that too.
Yeah, you got to be smart with that. Next question from Michelle. It is, for cycling, there are endless things you can spend money on. For an age grouper, what is the best value for money for improving your performance? For example, clip-on tri-bars, race wheels, power meter, etc. Best thing you can or clipless pedals. Best, in my opinion, best thing you can do is get a great bike fit. Make sure the bike fits perfectly on you. Get clipless pedals, because you're losing so much if you're not. If you're pedaling in bike shoes and cages, you don't even know how much you're losing. Not just from a speed and power standpoint, but your ability to handle your bike. Like once you clip in, you become one with the bike, and it's so much easier to handle. And then just ride a lot. Get clipless pedals. Get a great bike fit. So you're more comfortable, right? If you're more comfortable, you can ride longer. If you're riding longer, you get fitter. If you're going to get fitter and you ride long, you want to ride more, right? And if you can handle more, you're going to become faster. And if you feel confident in your bike, you're going to ride more anyway. So it's to me, those are all win-wins. Do those things first before you even consider tri-bars, right? Don't ever get tri-bars before you get regular pedals. Don't ever do that, because you're putting money in the wrong bucket. But that's my 2 cents on that. That's not a period or just a fact. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, man.
Preach. From Robin. This is a good toss-up for you, especially with your collegiate baseball background. Robin Heffman, tackling hills like Wisconsin Ironman hills. What does one need to know? Do's and don'ts, besides ride the course and know the course.
What should you do?
Yeah, what should you do? What does one need to know about the Ironman bike course with the hills?
Oh, there's a lot of them. And I just think you need to, like, for me, the best thing about Wisconsin is being able to use the hills to your advantage. I would ride a lot. I would be proficient in riding downhill, because that's the one thing is everybody talks about climbing, but there's a lot of downhills. There's a lot of speed out there. So be a good bike handler, understand how to get up the hill under control, get over the top, and get into the downhill, and you'll get, free speed and some recovery time. Talked about it many times, but I've ridden that course in my little ring to sub 6, and I attribute that mostly to bike handling and getting over the top of the hill and getting, tuck to get some speed on the downhills, because it's out there if you want it. But you just can't be afraid of it. I mean, the hills, everybody, freaks out about them and stuff, but there's a lot of them. You just gotta, it's almost like mentally you have to get to a place where you want to make hills your friends. And when you see them, you're just like, oh, there's a hill. Not, oh, fuck, there's a hill, You just gotta be ready for a lot of climbing and a lot of descending. I mean, it's not like there's not much flat out there, really.
Man, that's a great point. And I think like keeping it simplistic like that is a great way to approach that. I mean, make it to where you see a hill and it's a welcome sight versus a resentful sight. Mm-hmm. And because that's what happens at Wisconsin, right? It's just relentless. It's just relentless. It goes by fast up to a point, but then you just kind of get not disinterested, but you get like, I think mental and muscular fatigue from all the fucking hills. You're like, God, fuck another one. And I gotta turn at the bottom, right? Or gotta turn at the top. Like because it's not just speed, it's like where you can keep speed and maintain speed and like get free speed back. There's just a lot of turns, right? So you have to just kind of create that, I think, that mental strength to where you crave hills. Hills, no problem. Bring another one. Bring another one. bring another one, because eventually, and then just create the muscular endurance and the, fatigue resistance to where you can get ready to run. Because again, most people, they're ready to get off the bike at mile 80 because it's one of those body blow courses. Doesn't have like one big knockout. You just get up round after round. You just take body shots after body shots. And the one that's going to knock you out won't be an uppercut, won't be a jab. It'll be one of those rib shots, right? Where it doesn't look like it's going to, some like crusher, but it'll be the one at like mile 84 coming back from the loop. And it's not even a hill, right? You're just so tired from hitting the hills. Then you come back and you hit the, quote unquote, last 20 miles, that they show in the elevation as quote unquote downhill, and you get a headwind and you're done. You're mentally done.
Yeah.
Because you spent all your mental energy the first, just to get there. So yeah, I think that's a great, again, simplistic way to put it is just get to a point to where you welcome the sight of every hill, because it's a benefit, right? The more accustomed to it you are, the more normal it'll feel and be on race day.
Yeah, and don't neglect your upper body because you're going to need it out there.
Well, yeah, I'm totally agree. And that goes back to swimming. You got to do your swim, right? You got to create upper body strength. Last question. We made through all of them.
Wait, we did? I thought that was the last one.
Drew Blair. This is excellent. This is a great one to top it off on. Drew Blair. You're on a gas station pit stop with your group ride buddies. What's your go-to snack / craving or guilty pleasure?
Coke.
Yeah, Coke and a fucking Fifth Avenue.
There it is. It's back.
It's back. Coke and a fucking Fifth Avenue. 100%. Period. That's just a fact. That is the one that you have to go to. If you haven't had a Fifth Avenue, it's one of the most underrated, undervalued candy bars out there. Period.
I forgot about that. Period. I watched my first NBA game last night of the season. I told you about that. I think I'm back. Back, man. What?
He's back. He's back. He's not canceling his cable subscription anymore.
Well, I'm done. Football, I'm done with, though.
You're not done. You're back. You're back, and we're back. And thanks for participating in our Q&A format today. We always appreciate your input, and hopefully we were able to answer some of your questions today. If you participated in the Crushing Iron drinking game today, please call an Uber, drive responsibly. As always, we love you. We appreciate you. Go to our website, c26triathlon.com. It is our one-stop shop for all things coaching, camps, and community. For those of you looking to get better at swimming or get under that 30-minute mark, we have one spot left for our swim camp next year. That's March. We have, I think, maybe one or two spots left over for both camps. Our Wisconsin camp, which is in July, and then our even Nashville Tri Camp in 3 or 4 weeks, 1 or 2 slots left. But then that's it. They are all done. They are all sold out, all 3 of our next camps. So if you're considering, you don't want questions answered on Facebook, but you want to have things addressed and fixed real time in person, surrounded by awesome people, our camps are for you. So again, go to our website, click on the camp tab, and find the camp that you want to go to, and then we'll see you there. As always, if you're looking for coaching, go to the coaches tab, find the coach that's right for you. If you need anything from Mike, he is available at crushingiron@gmail.com. If you need anything from me specifically, c26coach@gmail.com.
All right, buddy.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, man. I'll talk to you later.
All right. That's you, dude.